Threading a sewing machine for the very first time can feel like a daunting task, a bit like solving a cryptic puzzle. But fear not, for every machine follows a similar logical path. Most modern machines are wonderfully helpful, with numbered guides or arrows printed directly onto the casing to show you the way. You begin with the spool of thread placed firmly on the spool pin. From there, the thread journeys through a series of guides, designed to control its tension and ensure it flows smoothly. It's crucial to follow this path precisely, as incorrect threading is the most common culprit behind tangled threads and skipped stitches, a frustration every sewist has faced. Once the thread has navigated the top part of the machine, its next challenge is the tension discs. These small plates are incredibly important. They apply just the right amount of pressure to the thread. You'll need to ensure the presser foot is lifted up before you pull the thread through them, as this opens the discs and allows the thread to sit correctly between them. After the tension discs, the thread goes up and through the take-up lever, that little arm that bobs up and down as you sew. This lever is what pulls the thread from the spool to form the stitch, so getting the thread securely through its eye is a non-negotiable step. Now for the final descent towards the needle. The thread will pass through a few more guides on its way down, keeping it straight and preventing it from twisting. The last step of this upper journey is threading the needle itself, from front to back. Many new machines have a built-in needle threader, a marvelous little gadget that saves a great deal of squinting and sighing. If your machine has one, take a moment to learn how it works. It will quickly become your best friend. Once the top thread is through, you simply pull a tail of about 10 centimeters to the back of the machine. But we're only halfway there. A sewing machine creates a lock stitch, which requires 2 threads, one from the top and one from below. The lower thread comes from the bobbin, a small spool that sits in a case beneath the needle plate. You'll need to wind your bobbin first, then drop it into its case, ensuring the thread is unwinding in the correct direction as specified by your machine's manual. With the bobbin in place, you hold the top thread taut and turn the hand wheel towards you 1 full rotation. This action makes the needle dip down, catch the bobbin thread, and bring a loop of it up through the needle plate. Gently pull on this loop to bring up the bobbin thread tail, and you're threaded and ready to sew. Choosing the right fabric is just as important as sewing a straight seam. It's the foundation of your entire project. Fabrics are broadly categorized by their construction, woven or knit. Woven fabrics like cotton, linen, and denim are made from threads interlaced at right angles, creating a stable and structured material. Cotton is a fantastic starting point for any beginner. It's affordable, comes in countless colors and prints, and is wonderfully behaved under the needle. It doesn't stretch or slip much, making it easy to cut and sew accurately. Think of crisp shirts, simple tote bags, or charming quilting projects. Cotton is your reliable companion. Linen, another beautiful woven fabric, is known for its strength and breathability, making it perfect for summer garments like trousers and dresses. It has a lovely, slightly textured appearance that becomes softer with every wash. However, be warned, linen loves to crease. This is part of its natural charm, but it does mean you'll become very well acquainted with your iron. Denim, a sturdy twill weave cotton, is famously durable and ideal for jeans, jackets, and skirts. While it can be a bit thick for a standard machine needle, its sturdiness means it's not slippery and holds its shape exceptionally well during construction. On the other side, we have knit fabrics, such as jersey and ponte roma. Unlike wovens, knits are made from a single yarn looped together, much like a hand-knitted jumper. This structure gives them their characteristic stretch, which makes for incredibly comfortable clothing like t-shirts, leggings, and casual dresses. Sewing with knits can be a little trickier for a novice because they can stretch out of shape as you sew. You'll need to use a special ballpoint or stretch needle, which is designed to pass between the fabric's loops rather than piercing and potentially breaking them, which can cause tiny holes or ladders. When you're just starting out, it's wise to stick with stable, medium-weight woven cottons. Fabrics like cotton poplin or quilting cotton are your best friends. They press beautifully, are easy to handle, and won't fight you as you learn to guide them through the machine. Avoid very slippery, silky fabrics like satin or very fine materials like voile until you have a bit more confidence. By starting with user-friendly fabrics, you set yourself up for a successful and enjoyable sewing experience, building a solid foundation of skills without unnecessary frustration. The world of fabric is vast and exciting, and exploring it is one of the great joys of sewing. While the sewing machine handles the heavy lifting, the quiet, thoughtful process of hand sewing is an indispensable skill. There are moments in every project where only a needle and thread can provide the necessary control and finesse. The most basic and versatile hand stitch is the running stitch. It's essentially a simple dashed line, created by weaving the needle in and out of the fabric in a straight line. This stitch is perfect for gathering fabric to create ruffles, for temporarily basting seams together before machine sewing, or for visible decorative mending like sashiko. Its simplicity is its strength, making it quick to execute for tasks that don't require immense durability. For a much stronger and more secure hand-sewn seam, you must learn the back stitch. It looks very much like a machine-sewn straight stitch from the right side, creating a continuous solid line. To create it, you bring the needle up through the fabric a short distance from the start of your seam, then take it back down at the very beginning. You then bring it up again an equal distance in front of your first stitch and take it back down into the same hole as the end of the previous one. This backward motion locks each stitch in place, making it incredibly strong and ideal for mending seams in hard-wearing areas. The third essential hand stitch is the wonderfully clever slip stitch, also known as a ladder stitch. This is your secret weapon for creating invisible hems or closing up the final seam on a stuffed item like a cushion or a soft toy. You work from the right side of the project, taking a tiny stitch inside the folded edge of one piece of fabric, then directly across, taking another tiny stitch inside the fold of the other piece. When you gently pull the thread, it pulls the two folded edges together and the stitches disappear into the folds, creating a seamless, professional-looking closure that appears almost magical. Mastering these 3 hand stitches will open up a new level of polish in your sewing projects. The running stitch offers speed for temporary tasks. The back stitch provides unshakable strength for repairs and durable seams. And the slip stitch gives you the power of invisibility for those final finishing touches. Don't underestimate the value of these manual techniques. Taking the time to finish a hem or close a lining by hand can elevate a homemade garment into something that looks truly professional and lovingly crafted. It connects you to the long history of sewing in a very tangible way. Once your sewing machine is threaded and you've chosen your fabric, it's time to explore its most fundamental functions. The cornerstone of all machine sewing is the straight stitch. This is the stitch you will use for more than 90% of your sewing, from constructing seams to attaching pockets. Your machine will allow you to adjust the stitch length. A standard medium length, which is around 2.5 millimeters, is perfect for most construction seams on medium-weight fabrics. A longer stitch, like 4 to 5 millimeters, is used for basting or gathering, while a shorter stitch, about 1.5 to 2 millimeters, is used to reinforce areas that will be under stress, like corners or the start and end of a seam. The second most useful stitch in your machine's arsenal is the zigzag stitch. This stitch is incredibly versatile and serves 2 primary purposes for a beginner. Its main job is to finish raw fabric edges to prevent them from fraying and unraveling in the wash. After sewing a plain seam, you can simply sew a zigzag stitch along the raw edge of the seam allowance. This encases the threads and keeps your garment's insides neat and tidy. The zigzag stitch is also essential for sewing knit fabrics if you don't own an overlocker, as its side-to-side motion allows the seam to stretch with the fabric, preventing the thread from snapping. Beyond basic construction, you will often use top stitching to add both strength and a decorative, professional finish to your projects. Top stitching is simply a line of straight stitching that is visible from the right side of the garment. It's used around necklines, on pocket edges, and down the sides of trouser legs, like on a pair of jeans. For a more pronounced and decorative look, you can use a slightly longer stitch length, about 3 to 3.5 millimeters, and a special top stitching thread, which is thicker than standard sewing thread. The key to beautiful top stitching is precision. Sew slowly and use the edge of your presser foot as a guide to keep your line perfectly straight and evenly spaced from the edge. Before you begin sewing any seam on your actual project, it is absolutely vital to test your stitches on a scrap piece of the same fabric. This allows you to check that the thread tension is correct. You shouldn't see loops on either the top or bottom of the fabric, and that the stitch length is appropriate for the material's weight. Making these small adjustments on a scrap will save you from the frustrating task of unpicking messy stitches from your final garment. Taking these few extra moments to practice and prepare ensures that when you do start sewing, your machine stitches will be strong, even, and beautiful. The way you join two pieces of fabric together is called a seam, and the type of seam you choose can affect the final look, durability, and feel of your garment. The most fundamental seam is the plain seam. This is created by placing two pieces of fabric with right sides together, stitching along the seam line and then pressing the seam allowances open. It's simple, fast, and lies flat, making it suitable for a vast range of projects, especially those that will be lined. However, the raw edges are left exposed inside, so they must be finished using a zigzag stitch or pinking shears to prevent them from fraying over time. For a more elegant and enclosed finish, particularly on lightweight or sheer fabrics like chiffon or voile, the French seam is the perfect choice. It's a seam within a seam that completely hides the raw edges. You begin by placing the fabric pieces with wrong sides together, which feels counterintuitive, and sewing a narrow seam. You then trim this seam allowance, press it, and fold the fabric along the seam line so the right sides are now together, enclosing the first seam. A second line of stitching completes the seam, leaving a beautiful, tidy, and durable finish on the inside of the garment that is a true mark of quality craftsmanship. When you need a seam that is exceptionally strong and durable, look no further than the flat-felled seam. This is the type of seam you will commonly find on denim jeans and sturdy workwear. It is created by sewing a plain seam, then trimming one side of the seam allowance much shorter than the other. The wider allowance is then folded over the trimmed edge and pressed flat. Finally, you stitch this folded edge down from the right side of the garment, creating two visible lines of parallel stitching. This not only encloses all the raw edges, but also provides incredible strength, making it ideal for garments that will see a lot of wear and tear. Finally, a bound seam offers another decorative and neat way to finish an unlined jacket or coat. With this technique, the raw edges of a plain seam allowance are encased in a strip of bias binding. After sewing a standard plain seam, you press the allowances open. Then a strip of coordinating or contrasting bias binding is wrapped around each raw edge and stitched in place. This not only prevents fraying but also adds a beautiful pop of color and a professional high-end finish to the inside of your garment. Learning these different seam types will empower you to choose the perfect finish for any fabric in any project.